Welcome to topic 2, where we're looking at one of the major components of a computer system, that is software. You should understand that to build a complete computer system, you need hardware, you need software, and liveware. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand the term software. You should also be able to understand what an operating system is and name some of the common operating systems. You should be able to identify and know the uses of some of the common software applications such as word processing, spreadsheet, database, presentation, email, web browsing, photo editing, and computer games. To begin our lesson about software, we try to understand that the info that the computer deals with is called software. Because you can't feel it, it flows through the computer circuits as coded pulses of electricity. The computer can handle two kinds of software. Data, meaning lists of names, addresses, numbers, words, and facts. Then programs. These are lists of instructions that tell the computer what to do. So to feed the computer software, that is data and programs, you can type on the keyboard. You can also insert software through the CD. You can also use some other disks, or you can connect computers on the network so that you can install the software. If you feed the computer wrong software, wrong facts or wrong instructions, the computer will print wrong answers. Wrong stuff is called garbage. If you feed the computer some garbage, the computer spits out garbage answers. If a computer prints wrong answers, the computer might not be broken. It may be still a normal computer, but because you have fed it with the wrong instructions or wrong programs. If you tell the technician to fix such computer, the technician will say, hey, the computer is fine, don't blame the computer. It could be that you inserted in a wrong software. If you put garbage in, you get garbage out. This is called the principle of garbage in, garbage out, which is abbreviated as GAGO. So the technician will simply tell you it is just a case of GAGO. So what is a software? Software is the term used for the instructions that have been programmed to allow a computer to process information. And there are two types of software. We have what we call application software and system software. So starting with system software, let's look at operating systems, abbreviated as OS. An operating system is the most important software that runs on a computer. It manages the computer's memory, processes, and all of its software and hardware. It also allows you to communicate with the computer without knowing how to speak the computer's language. Without an operating system, a computer is useless. Currently, all common operating systems are also graphical user interfaces, which means that that they use graphics to help the user to easily input instructions and open other programs. The most common operating systems, OS, are from the Windows family, from a company known as Microsoft. That's why you could have heard of Windows 98, Windows 2000, Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, and now we have Windows 8. There are three common operating systems. There are three companies which will give us the operating system that we are using today. One is from Microsoft, that is Microsoft Windows. Then we also have a company called Apple that produces Mac OS, and then Linux. But what is the use of operating system? One is to control hardware access. So the operating system manages the interaction between applications and the hardware. Two, it's for files and folder management. So the operating system creates a file structure on the hard disk and it allows you to store your work there. Three, user interface. The operating system enables us to have the interface, the interaction that the operating system enables the user to interact with the computer using two types of interfaces. There's what we call graphical user interface and command line interface. Now, command line interface, this is where the user types commands at a prompt. Now, when you switch on the computer and after running it for some time, you'll see a dark screen, and then you simply have to use commands like c dot slash. So that one is what programmers use, and people with specific functions use it to do their work on a computer. We also have what's called the graphical user interface. This one is the common one that we use, where you interact with the computer using icons and using menus, using the mouse pointer, and all those other interesting features on the screen of your monitor. Another purpose of operating systems is that helps us to manage applications, to manage most of other programs. So the operating system manages all programs to ensure that the correct resources are allocated to the applications. And lastly, the operating system helps us in booting the computer, in starting the computer, and even shutting it down. That is the role of operating system. Now, we have already said that there are three companies that make operating systems, and so we were looking at one of them being Windows, Microsoft Windows. So Microsoft created the operating system called Windows in the mid-1980s. They have a version of the operating system that is designed for the home user, and a professional version which is intended for businesses. The versions differ in depth of networking, security, and multimedia support. Windows is a proprietary software, which means that that Microsoft has placed restrictions on how people can use or copy the software. Windows comes preloaded on most of the PCs sold today, and can also be purchased online or from vendors. The cost ranges between $79 to $399 for home users. Now, all over the world, Microsoft has the biggest market share of the operating systems. According to the web analysts Net Solutions, over 90% of computer users have Windows operating systems. Another operating system from a company called Apple is known as Mac OS. Macintosh or Mac is a line of operating systems created by Apple. The Mac operating system is proprietary software that comes preloaded on a new Macintosh computers. The most recent version of operating system is called Mac OS X. So, like Microsoft, Apple offers professional version of the operating system that is intended for servers, home use, and other users. Currently, Apple controls only 7.5% of the market share in as far as operating systems are concerned. The unfortunate bit of it is that Mac OS is not very applicable. It is only comes and to be used on computers made by the same company. The computers are called Mac, and it can only be used, whereas Microsoft can fit on any computer and is compatible with any computer. Lastly, we have Linux. Linux is an open source software. Unlike Windows and Mac OS, Linux is not proprietary software, and all the computer code that is part of the operating system can be used and modified by any user. Linux was started in 1990s when Linus Torvalds, a person who was interested in creating free operating system, developed the Linux software, which is a computer code that is he developed the Linux kernel, which is a computer code that is a central part of an operating system. As an open source software, any individual or company can take the Linux kernel and modify and even add anything on it. So hundreds of companies and individuals have taken the Linux kernel and added additional computer programs to create various versions of Linux operating system. These versions are known as distributions and are available to download for free anywhere. Linux is extremely popular in businesses, especially for servers, because it is adaptable. According to Net Application Statistics, Linux represents under 1% of the market share for home users, but it does offer an alternative to commercial operating systems because it is virus-free and it is neat. Despite being used in many businesses for servers, you do not need to have special programming skills to download and use Linux. In fact, if you want to try it now, you don't have to install it, but you can simply download it, save it on a CD, and install it on your computer so that it can run parallel to the other operating systems which are there on your computer. So the two popular distributions of the software are Ubuntu and Red Hat. Ubuntu, which was developed in South Africa, is completely free and is available in a version geared specifically for home users. Red Hat is a company that offers technical and training support for businesses that use its version of the operating system, that is Red Hat Linux. Lastly, let's look at operating system for mobile phones. For mobile devices, the operating systems that we have been talking about were designed to run on desktop or laptop computers. Mobile devices such as phones, tablet computers, and MP3 players are very different from desktop and laptop computers. So they run operating systems that are designed specifically for mobile devices. Examples of mobile operating systems include Apple iOS, Windows Phone, and Google Android. Operating systems for mobile devices generally aren't as fully featured as those made for desktop or laptop computers, and they aren't able to run all the same software. However, you can still do a lot of things with them, such as watching movies, browsing the internet, managing your calendar, playing games, and many more. Those are very important applications that can be of great.
Software program that creates an interface so that users are able to interact with the system's hardware. Simply put, you need an operating system for your computer to work. There are three main types of operating systems that people use. Windows. The Windows operating system is developed by Microsoft and remains the most popular of the operating systems. Macintosh. The Macintosh operating system is developed by Apple for their Macintosh computers. Linux. Linux started out as a college student's hobby and has grown into a very competitive and growing operating system. So what makes it so popular? It's both a free and open source software. All of these operating systems have pros and cons. Finding the right one for you, well, it's all about personal preference.